All right, hello and welcome to Covers Off's IPL auction review, the much awaited IPL auction review. Everybody has been waiting for Al to share his thoughts on the recently concluded auctions. And yeah, we'll not waste any time. How are you, Al? How are you doing?
I'm fine. I mean, it has been another great day for covers of today. We have delivered another grand league level team with people
Wow.
winning in lakhs, literally in lakhs. You could scroll through my timeline and you'll be able to see that. So it's been another great day for us, and we have also started rolling out our yearly subscriptions today. Registrations have opened, so it's a good start.
Awesome. So if you're just joining in, check out our annual subscription. They started rolling just today. And just like every other day, we're helping people win lakhs and lakhs of rupees through our packages. So check that out on Covers Off. And yeah, let's begin with the IPL auction review. So before we jump into team specific reviews, I wanted to ask you, according to you, what were the top three buys of the auction?
Top three buys, I think Mayank Agarwal is number one, without a doubt. And then the second would be Sam Curran because of how well he fits into Kings XI Punjab. They need a left-hander, and he's someone who can be floated. And they also have a ready-made bowling attack already. Arshdeep Singh, Kagiso Rabada. He's someone when Sam Curran is paired as a third bowler with these two, it'll be great. And in the third buy, I think it will be again SRH. Maybe I might have to think about it, but these are the top two buys for me.
So Mayank Agarwal and Sam Curran, because of how well they fit into their respective teams and how those teams have filled gaps which
Yeah, third
existed
one.
last year.
I've got the third one. It's Jason Holder
What
for
is it?
RR. Jason
Jason
Holder.
Holder, yeah, exactly. They were missing a number seven last year. They were missing that pace bowling all rounder, and they have one now.
Hmm.
So that's great. I think those are the three best buys of the auction, according to a lot of people, and even according to the team owners themselves. I think they all got the players that they wanted, as far as these three players are concerned. And especially for Mayank Agarwal, people were saying that he's going to go for high double figures, but at the end of it, he ended up going to SRH for not that much money as people were expecting, right?
Yeah, it's a classic example of recency bias. I mean, he's 31. Till a year back, he was in contention for the Indian cricket team, Indian national team. So after one bad year, if he has come down from 13 to 8 crores, I mean, says a lot. I like the fact that CSK went for Mayank Agarwal. I mean, they should have got into the auction with the plan of getting an all-rounder. But just because Mayank Agarwal was going for a right price, they were ready to throw everything into the bin
Yeah.
and try change the entire strategy to get Mayank Agarwal. And I think if CSK had not tried, maybe they would have got SRH would have got Mayank Agarwal cheaper. I mean that would have
For like
led
5
me to
crores or 6
start
crores.
led me to start an outrage on Twitter.
All right. So since you mentioned that Sam Curran was one of the top three buys of the season and of how well he
Mm,
of the auction and how well he fits into the scheme of things for Punjab, let's start off by talking about
mm.
Kings 11 Punjab. I'm just going to share my screen to Punjab's 11. Can you see the 11? Can you see the squad?
Not yet. Or maybe I should
Not yet.
accept it on stream. I guess yes, I can see it now. Be a little bit zoom
Okay.
in. It's possible.
Yes. Oh, my bad.
Okay, maybe that's enough. Oh, a bit of, oh yeah, I think this is better.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah, perfect. So the thing with Punjab is that whatever they tried to do, they couldn't have fixed the Indian batting spot at the top of the order. They couldn't have got a star player who could have added value. This is because of the mistakes they made in the last edition, but they are currently stuck with what Liam Livingstone and Kagiso Rabada and who is the other Johnny Bairstow. They should have got a left-hander who could have fit into the lineup in the lineup last year. But since they didn't get it, the only thing that they could have done is get Sam Curran and strengthen the bowling lineup. So as far as that is concerned, they did their job. But after that, they kind of went off the boil. But that's also because there are no options that they could have bought to fit in. But Mayank Agarwal was the only star Indian batter who was available. Who was the other one? Manish Pandey, his IPL records have been poor over the last few years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all the people, the reviews that we have seen on Geo or on Star Sports, the people still value the name Manish Pandey, but his numbers are not
Exactly.
there, and he will also not be a great fit into this 11. So the only thing that they could have done is get Sam Curran to improve their squad, and that is the thing that they did well.
Absolutely. I feel like last year, because they were missing that left-handed batter in the
Mm,
middle order, and because of Johnny Bairstow's initial unavailability, they had Rajapaksha
mm,
playing that role. And
mm,
once Johnny Bairstow came in, it was very difficult for them to
mm,
fit in four overseas players while also
mm,
keeping Rajapaksha in the 11. So Sam Curran occupies his space
mm.
like as that as that left back who can play both sides.
Sorry, I think your voice is breaking. One.
So I feel like they have fixed a very important hole. But do you think it fixes all of their problems?
It doesn't fix all of their problems, but it fixes a lot of their problems, if you ask me. Because it's the last year. I keep going back to it because I raised it ahead of the last year. After the last year's auction itself, how could you go into an T20 league that's happening in India without a star left-hander in the middle order? People were attracted by the number of explosive batters they had bought, but this was an essential slot that they should have fixed last year. They didn't fix it. Now Hetmeyer isn't there. Puran has gone for 14 crores. Maybe he's someone they could have tried again.
Yeah,
Without that, then there is Sam Curran was the only option. Sam Curran is someone who works better when he's floated up the order. He's more of an
right.
over 7 to 16 player than he's someone who's 16 to 20, where he could be bounced out by express quicks. I mean, you do not want Sam Curran to face Jasprit Bumrah, Andrish Nokia, someone you want him to face the spinners. You want him to face Harshal Patel, likes of Harshal
Mhm.
Patels, and the ones that bowl in the middle overs. So I think that's a good buy.
Yeah. What about their overall strengths and weaknesses at the end of it? Like they, as you said, they already have a ready-made bowling lineup with Rabada and with Ashdeep Singh, with Rahul Chahar, and now Sam Curran fitting into it. So, do you think they have everything it takes to build an 11 which they can field efficiently on the field, like which they can field efficiently?
I think the third spot, number three spot is something that's going to trouble them throughout the competition. Perhaps Simran Singh is not someone who is established, and they'll lose some kind of batting. And if you take Shah Rukh Khan as well, he hasn't established himself in the role yet. But I think it was a good decision to not release him, because if they had released him, they would have opened up another slot that they would have found it really difficult to fix. So that's one thing. And I think the last game what they missed was an option to counter left-handers with the spinners. There was no
Right.
off-spin option in the 11, and I think that's something they haven't yet sealed. And if they are to bring it into the lineup, they'll have to sacrifice something as well. So these are the two weaknesses that I see at the moment, and this will be the difference between them just about making the playoffs and going till the final.
Cool. I think that if they wanted to get a little bit of off spin, they could get something out of Liam Livingston. But other than that, they don't have any other ready options
Yeah.
like without making any sacrifices. And when it comes to Sam Curran, there were a few teams who were behind him. Of course, he went for 18.5 crores ultimately.
Mm,
So Mumbai Indians were after him almost throughout. And
mm,
in the beginning, actually, there was a heated battle between not just Mumbai but also Punjab and Chennai. So of course
mm.
Chennai was also going for him, and then Mumbai went all the way up till 18.25 before bowing out when Punjab outstripped them. So let's move on to Mumbai Indians actually next. Unless you have any final thoughts on Punjab,
No, it's a little more to Mumbai.
let's move on to Mumbai Indians, who are the second most expensive buy of the auction.
I think your voice is
One
breaking
player.
again. Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on what, but what are your impressions, Al?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything. Your voice broke and it's like kind of struck.
I'm
Faint.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So the Mumbai Indians only left the auction only with 5 lakhs. At the end of it, they did a lot of shopping, but most of it was focused on just one player, who was the
Mm,
second most expensive buy
mm.
of the auction. I don't know if you want to address him first, but what are your general impressions? Are you happy with the way the Mumbai Indians did at the auction?
No, I'm disappointed actually. I mean, this is something that I raised during the auction itself this year. The one thing that they really wanted was a kick-ass bowling option, and they were they had emptied 90% of their purse, and they haven't got one. I mean, people talk about Jai Richardson, but how would you play Jai Richardson without sacrificing someone like Stubbs? I mean, Tim David might have fixed his spot, but you to play Jai Richardson, you should sacrifice Stubbs, and that opens up another problem because Green is not at an established number six player or a number seven player. So you're opening
Exactly.
something up. So how I judge a buy is that if when you buy someone, he should be a natural fit into your 11. To fit him, if you're changing too many things, like pushing Rohit down or pushing Ishan down or putting someone out of the 11 who is a favorite to play, then that's a problematic buy. Because Cameron Green as a third pace bowler is going to create. I mean, as an opposition, if I see Cameron Green as the third pacer, then I'm not going to worry about Archer and Bumrah. I'll just see them off for 50 to 60 runs and take 120 of that, 120 of the remaining 12.
Absolutely. And it seems like because they went all the way like above 17 crores to secure Cam Green, that they
Mm,
may be looking at him as a 4 over bowler, right? Because they have to play him in the 11 now if they have spent so
mm,
much money on him. And
mm.
where does he fit in that equation?
Again, it's struck, I guess. Mm.
Right?
Yeah, what I'd have liked them to see, I'd like to see them do is buy someone like Akil Hussain. At
Right.
he was unsold in the first round, right? They
Yeah.
could have got him and fit him naturally behind Tim David, Stubbs, or he could have. Brevis, I think Stubbs is more suited to the number six role. And if you have Akil Hussain coming at seven, who is also providing them with an all-round option, and maybe go and buy Mavi later, because they would have had
Right.
12 crores
Yeah.
to get Mavi, and that would have
Yeah.
given them, look at when you look at the two that they already have, Bumrah, Archer, and then support them with Mavi and Akil Hussain. Look at the bowling attack, how well it
A lot
looks. But
better.
yeah, and they have the batting already. I mean, if you have a Sky in your 11 and Tim David in your 11, Stubbs in your 11, and Tilak Varma and Ishan Kishan, the batting is there already. If you just put in a decent bowling unit, it's an easy way ahead to the top four spot.
But now that they have bought Cameron Green,
Mm,
they definitely can't play David, Stubbs,
mm,
Green,
mm,
Archer as well as
mm,
an extra overseas pacer. So they have to go with four of them, which ends up not. So Green's inclusion actually creates an imbalance in the batting lineup as well, not
mm.
just the bowling, right? In a way.
I think Mumbai may have made a mistake in the auction, but I think they'll be smart here and play Jai Richardson and Jofra Archer together, and maybe they'll have to bench Stubbs and Brevis, but maybe they'll see that as a future investment. At some point,
Right.
that's going to pay off. But maybe now make a sacrifice, but make the bowling attack look something like you'd love to take the field with it. I mean, if I were a captain and if you give me the bowling attack without Jai Richardson in it, I'm not taking the field.
Right. And so you think that so Mumbai Indians generally go in with two right arm pacers and one overseas left arm pacer. Do you not see them starting with Behrendorff and them starting with Richardson instead?
I think Jai is a bigger name, so Jai Richardson would still start. Mumbai would know their bowling stacks, and he's also someone who can bat, right? So Jai Richardson
Right.
is someone who would also extend the batting depth, especially in the absence of both Stubbs and Brevis. They'd want that batting, and maybe they'll have to let go of the left arm value that they have always had.
Yeah. And talking about Jai Richardson, were you surprised that he went at base price considering that he was sold for 14 crores a couple of years ago? Of course, that was again an over exhaustion of bank by the Punjab Kings on Jai Richardson.
Mm.
But in general, like going from 14 crores to 1.5 crores, mini auction dynamics, of course. But were you surprised that no other team went after Jai Richardson?
I mean, not anymore. We have seen the case of Time Mills. What happens when someone creates a hype and the player immediately goes for in double digits 10, and they IPL fans, they see a bit of him in the IPL, and then they knock down their price severely. So that's what has happened to Jair Richardson even ahead of the auction. There are a lot of previews, and I myself did a couple and did a couple of them, and we didn't really predict Jair Richardson to go for a higher rate.
Right. A wrist spinner last year.
Mm,
They got a little bit in from Kumar Kartikeya when he came in as a replacement towards the end of the season.
mm,
This year too, they didn't go after any big ticket wrist spinner. They got Piyush Chawla in, who they had even a couple of years ago and only played in one game or maybe
mm.
two games. Are you impressed with that side as well? They have Shams Mulani, who is a local boy, and then they have Piyush Chawla, and then they have Kartikeya and Hrithik Shauki. Those are the four players who primarily form their spin bowling options. Do you like which two do you see starting?
I think it will be Kumar Kartikeya and Shokeen, Ritik Shokeen starting, but Shams Malani is someone I'd like to see in a deck like Chepak,
Right.
classical left arm spinner who could also smash spin in the middle overs. So someone who could be there maybe in at home games, and maybe on flatter decks they'll just go in with Kumar Kartikeya. And
Right.
maybe for Chepak, they'll likely bringing in Shams Mulani, someone who's experienced, who knows how to bowl on those legs and take wickets.
And Shams also gives them that Akil Hussain type of player who which they missed at the auction in a way.
Yeah, I mean it is an Indian version of a little bit slower and doesn't have the same kind of power rating he has as Akil Hussain. I think he's as good as you can get in the Indian domestic circuit for a replacement for Akil.
Hello?
Yeah, you're back online. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start.
Okay. Final thoughts about Mumbai. Do you see them making it to the top four if everything goes like if they play their best, if they play the 11 that you have in mind?
Yeah, if Jai Richardson comes in, and I think if Jai Richardson comes in, I think they'll make it to the top four. But if they start with the lineup that only has that has all three of Tim David, Stubbs, and Cameron Green, I think they'll struggle.
Okay. All right. So Mumbai Indians have the ability to make it to the top four, but despite their auction being lukewarm, and again they may have to bench Dual, Brevis, and Tristan Stubbs. But you predict that if they play Shai Richardson and Archer together, they may make it to the top four. Great. Let's
Yeah,
move on.
yeah. Mm.
Let's move on to the next team. Let's move on to Lucknow. They made it to the playoffs last year. They had some holes to fix, and they've really gone out and spent a lot of money to secure the services of Nicholas Puran. Let's talk about Puran first because he was their biggest buy of the day. Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I do not know why it happens. People, whenever someone buys Puran, people keep asking why is he being bought when he hasn't delivered. I mean, he has delivered to 2020 and 2022. He has had two excellent seasons playing in a difficult role. I mean, in the last year, SRH made his job even more difficult by playing him at number 5, where he has to face a lot of pace with Markram often
Yeah.
coming at number 4. The maturity he showed.
And
Sometimes
he did
there
well.
was
And he did well despite that.
yeah, there was a game against Mumbai, I guess. This is the kind of maturity that maybe it was an influence of Brian Lara. He was literally dead batting Bumrah off because he knows what follows and he knows he could take 20 runs of those players. So these are the kind of things that you don't normally see from Puran. He treats every single ball the same way. I mean that's a classic example of a stupid T20 batter. You just look at Chris Gale and follow what he does. Because Chris Gale would have dead batted Bumrah in the situation, and that's what
Yeah.
Nicholas Puran did as well. So it shows that he is improving as a T20 player, as a thinker of the game. So to get him, this is something we highlighted even ahead after the last auction they had. That if there is something that they are going to miss, it's the presence of a left-hander in the middle order, which is why they have gone to that extent to buy him. Their numbers against SLA was poor, and their numbers against Wispin wasn't great as well last year.
Yeah, and one other thing that strikes out about Lucknow is that last year they
Hmm.
went in with, if I'm not wrong, one of the smallest squads among the teams. I think they had
Hmm.
either 17 or 18 players in their squad. But
Hmm.
this year they've gone all out. They have secured services of 25 players, and
Hmm.
they left the auction with almost 3.5 crores still left in the purse. So they did a lot of smart shopping, if that might be the right thing to say. They got Romario Shepherd in, Daniel Samson. They really like their all rounders, which is why, like, even last year they had Jason Holder, they had Marcus Stoinis, and now they
Hmm.
have Romario Shepherd and Daniel Sams as well. What do you think? What do you make of the rest of their buys? Again, Krunal Pandya and stuff as well in terms of the all rounders.
I think Naveen Ulak is a decent buy. I mean, the quality, as far as quality backup seamers are concerned, I don't think you can get anyone better than Naveen Ulak at the moment. He has
Okay.
a quick yorker, although he sometimes overdoes slow balls. When he is in his slot, when he's at his best, he has a quick yorker, and his receptions can prove to be handy at that venue, at their home deck in particular. So that's a great buy for me. I'm not really impressed with Romario Shepard or Daniel Sams because I think they've overdone that part. I'm not sure out of whom they'll play. I mean, if someone breaks down, if Markwood, for example, breaks down, you'll play Naveen Ulak. And if someone at the top, for example, Nicholas Puran breaks down, who do you bring in? You cannot bring in Romario Shepard or Daniel Sams into that slot. So that's not something I'm happy with, but I'm happy with the Naveen Ulak buy.
So do you believe that they do not have enough? The only like they don't have backups for Puran, who's obviously going to start in the 11. But what about the other players? Do you think they have enough backups for other spots?
As far as backup is concerned, I look at the squad. Maybe this is a season I think they'll need some kind of quality backups because of the change in rule that they have brought on. The Indian depth becomes a more important because of their super sub or whatever that the replacement rule is. With these Indian subs, you do not know. I mean, I'd be lying if I say I know in depth about some of these local players here. You'll have to see them at least once to judge how good they are. I think the stream is struck. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, what do you think? They made it to the top four last time around.
Hmm.
What do you think about the
I, thi-
what do you think about their chances this year?
I think the first 11 strength is exceptional. Nicholas Puran is a much needed addition, and they are a top four contenders as well.
Awesome, awesome. What do you think about Amit Mishra as one of those throwaway buys which they made towards the end of the auction?
I mean, he's someone that I'd like to see again play at a deck like Chepak or at a deck like the Ahmedabad, the home deck of Gujarat Titans. That's something that these are the kind of decks, big outfields, and so kind of decks where spinners get assistance. These are the kind of decks I think someone like Amit Mishra can come into play. He's not a 14 or a 16 game player, but he's someone who could win you a couple of games on the right deck.
Okay, awesome. Let's swiftly move on to the next team, which is KKR. A lot of talks were like there was a lot of chatter around KKR before the auction because they were going in with only around 7 crores with a lot of slots to fill. They did a lot of pre auction trading. One of the bigger ones was Shardul Thakur, who they got for a big chunk from the Delhi Capitals. They also brought in Lockie Ferguson, who has played for them before. They traded in Gurbaz as well from Gujarat Titans. And then they went in and did some kind of shopping. What are your initial impressions about the kind of squad that KKR have put together for this season?
One of the most disappointing team. I mean, in fact, the most disappointing performance. I'm also considering the work that they did before the auction. If you did, I mean, normally teams do a review of their season after season is over. So if they had done it, they would have found out that their problem was against raw pace and bounce. Who have they got to rectify it? No one.
Nobody.
So that is something, and this was coming because they had done a lot of their business upfront, even ahead of the auction, and the kind of players that they were getting, Shardul Thakur, Lockie Ferguson, who is going to fix the problem for them at the top? Litan Das is not good. As good a player as Litan Das, he's not going to fix it. And Ramanullah Gurbaz, I mean, someone sent me a video of Ramanullah Gurbaz practicing at the nets that KKR had posted from their account. It had him struggling against raw pace and bounce, and this is something they proudly posted on their Twitter account. He said that I'm not even sure if these guys realized what their problem is. They're being happy about posting this video. So if you're an opposition, just get three 140 kph ballers and bounce the entire batting lineup can be bounced out.
Yeah, that makes sense because even last year, this was one of their bigger, more prominent problems.
Mm,
And you would imagine that, as you mentioned, if you reflect on the kind of season you've had, you
mm,
would try to go into the auction and fix those issues.
mm.
But the kind of trades which they performed before the auction meant that they had very little money to even go out and fix those problems. And they ended up not fixing those problems anyway. They got brought back Shakib Al Hassan, they bought David Wiesel, Litton Das. What do you think about these buys? Because these were fringe buys which they made in the second half of the auction. They weren't very active during the first half of the auction. They just went ahead and like they bought these people in the last couple of hours. What do you make of the buys that they actually went ahead and made at the auction?
As far as I'm concerned, none of those, all of those are pointless buys because you see the lineup. The ones that are going to play are Ramanullah, Gurbaz, Lockie Ferguson, Russell, and Naren. So what use of strengthening your bench when it's really no use teaming team. Some of them look too seriously into the depth and everything, but what really matters is how good your first 11 is. And when
Yeah,
it's not there, it's not there.
lineup is going to be pretty much the same from last year, which already there's one interesting buy in there, Jagadisan. What do you make of Jagadisan as a buy? Do you think he might have a place in the first 11?
I don't see him starting, but see, I used to refer to Jagdishan as a budget Rohit. He's someone who is when he's set, He has an exceptional set of attacking gears where he could accelerate without really taking on the balls. I mean, what I mean by taking on the balls is without the big hits. He could just place it through, and the way he accelerates is something that works really well at the domestic level. But if you're someone who takes a lot of time to accelerate even at the domestic level, then it may not really work at when you're moving up to the higher levels where you are facing higher quality bowlers. And this is why you should always pick players who are ahead of the game at the domestic level, so that they are at least on pace with the higher quality of bowling that they'll be facing in the IPL.
Absolutely. So once again, for KKR, a lot of heavy lifting for Russell and Narayan to do, as has been the case for multiple seasons now. Um, what do you think? Do you think they'll make it to the top four? Like, what are their chances?
I'd be surprised if they make it anywhere close to the top four spot. I'd be surprised if they are in contention after the first 9 to 10 games. So it's like they should be happy to at least finish at 5 or 6. So I'm expecting a bottom table finish for them.
All right, all right. Clear as day that KKR may end up in the bottom half. Let's hope for the best, but move on to Chennai. Chennai, take it away. What do you think of their buys? Again, a lot of their buy, like a lot of shopping, but mostly concentrated on one big buy, the third biggest of the auction, Ben Stokes. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, as we discussed at the start, the fact that I liked about Chennai most was that they are prepared to throw everything into the bin and go for Mayank Agarwal. This is something they missed in the last auction, where they were hell bent on taking getting Deepak Chahar, that they missed someone like Bhuvi at 4 crores. This is something that you should never have a fixed auction strategy. For example, if your plan A is getting Deepak Chahar, if someone of same type, someone like Bhuvi is coming at a cheaper rate, you should go ahead and get him and then adjust the rest of the squad to suit that. This is something they tried to do this year, so that thing is really happy to see. But eventually the player that they should have got is either Sam Curran or Jason Holder. These two would have naturally fit into the 11, and with someone like if they had gone for 9 or 10 crores for Mayank Agarwal, then that could have given them a lot of options with the bowling all-rounder role. But since they missed him and they also missed Sam Curran, their option was to get someone like Ben Stokes and Cameron Green to at least give themselves confidence, if not their fans. So I think that's why they went for Ben Stokes.
And where do you think Ben Stokes fits into their 11? It's certain that a player of his caliber and multi-dimensional skill set will start in the 11. But where do they play him to get the most out of him?
I think to get the most out of him is something what they should do is open with him. It's a no-brainer for me because it's something we have been racing for 3 years at least, even before RR did that, and he found some success at it because Stokes is someone who struggles to start against spin, especially at Chepak. Imagine the kind of challenge that he would face against spinners at Chepak, and he's not someone who can bowl as well. He's a batting all-rounder, so to have him down in the middle order or lower middle all-rounder is just a waste of 16 crores. So maybe even if it comes at the expense of dropping Conway, just go ahead and play him as an opener. Or even if it necessitates bringing down Ruturaj Gaikwad to a number 4 spot, to the spot where Ambati Rayudu is currently at, go ahead and do it. It's not a problem. I mean, it strengthens the team. Stokes at the top with Dhoni. The thing is that when you give him the right resources, I'd be really, I'd be really, I would not want to face Dhoni as an opposition. Because if you give Ben Stokes and if you also give Jameson to Dhoni, and then that's a lineup that has some kind of presence at the top, someone who can take down pace, and they also have someone who can bowl differently to someone like Deepak Chahar or the usual pace bowlers that they have. Mukesh Chaudhary, Jameson is someone who extends the batting lineup, and he's also someone who gives you the pace and bounce. I mean, it may not be felt in the speedometer, but when Jameson is at his best, it's something that comes at a higher speed than what is actually shown on the screen. So yeah, a CSK team that has Stokes at the top and Jamieson at 8 is the one that I'd fear.
Right. And other than Ben Stokes and Jameson,
Hmm.
do you think any of the other buys make an immediate impact on the 11?
None of them. Obviously, Sheikh Rashid is more of an accumulator. I mean, I think we heard news of people standing up and clapping as soon as Cheteshwar Pujara was put. I think that is something they could have done with Sheikh Rashid as well. He's someone who is an accumulator, who's not, who doesn't suit a T20 team at the moment. I'm not sure what they had in mind. Nishant Sindhu is someone I think someone they could groom as a future Ravindra Jadeja. So I think that's a like for like buy, and I don't see anything else in the team. But with the team, the problem is always going to be the middle order. You do not want a middle order to look like Raidu at 4, Dubey at 5, and MS Dhoni at 6. Ravindra Jadeja has also been on and off the field. He's someone who's been struggling with the bat as well, struggling to be on the field. These are all bad signs for a cricketer. So middle order is a problem, and this will be the problem that's going to stop them from reaching the top 4.
Yeah, and the middle order that you mentioned is
Mm,
frail enough already. But
mm,
even if they go with another middle order,
mm,
where they have like a Stokes opening or a Conway, and then they have Moeen Ali, they have Shivam Dubey,
mm,
Shandra Jadeja. That's a lot of left-handers
mm,
to
mm,
have in your immediate 11, along with Dhoni being the
mm.
seventh batter, right?
Yeah, this is a middle order that cannot withstand. The only hope that they could, however, have is the home deck where they could play the spin try of Jadu, Moin, and Tikshna, and it will be really difficult to score runs of them. So that's their only hope. They should win at least 90% of their home games to stay in contention for the top 4 spot.
Right. And with MS Dhoni's brains, like the brains
Mm,
of MS Dhoni on the field,
mm,
and Stokes and Jameson, who you said you as an opposition would fear if you were
mm.
going in to play the two of them, if they were used in the best possible way. Do
Yeah.
you think CSK has it in them to make it to the top 4 this year after a dismal last season?
No, I don't think so. They'll make the top 4, even though they have the advantage of the home deck. They missed. This is the problem that they have been carrying on for a while. The auction problem should have been fixed. The poor auction that they had last year is going to take at least a couple of auctions for them to fix. So the best thing that they could do is start with Stokes and have Jamieson at 8. But even that could just fall short of a top 4 spot. But if they start with Stokes with number 5 or number 6, they're definitely not qualifying for the top 4.
But if they start with Stokes and Jameson, their other two overseas players would be Moeen and either Tikshana or Conway. Is that what you're thinking?
Tikshna for sure. Tikshna would be my first pick in that 11. So in that overseas pick in that 11. So Devon Conway is someone who needs to be benched, and this is exactly why the buy was problematic. They should have got a bowling all rounder. When you're moving something that is working for you, then you've made a mistake.
Right. And then Pretorius and Santner, just like last season, either like in and out or just not in at all.
Yeah, I think they'll be as long as Ravindra Jadeja is around, it's going to be really difficult for Santner to force his way into the 11. Pretorius is someone they could again use as a backup. I think he's being seen as Dwayne Bravo's successor. And that's also one of the reasons why CSK should have released Bravo. They have found Dhoni has found someone who could replicate Bravo's success, someone who could come down the order, who could bowl the variations, and who also has the work ethic and the cricketing mind of Dwayne Bravo.
Yeah, right. So, all right. So this is what we have with CSK, who have two players from their auction kitty who may make an immediate impact on the 11, but Al doesn't think that they have it in them to make it to the top 4. Let's move on to the next team, which is the Gujarat Titans, the defending champions. Last season, almost throughout the season, and even before it started, and even after it started, everybody was wondering how the hell did Gujarat Titans win that season. Hardik Pandya himself said that they got out of jail many times while auction.
I think the screen is frozen. I'm not sure where the problem is.
Do
Can
you
you
see?
repeat the question? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gujarat Titans throughout last season, everybody was wondering how they are winning so many games coming out of jail. When the
Mm,
season ended, everyone was like, "What do we know about cricket? How did Gujarat Titans win?" But they
mm,
did end up winning, and they went
mm.
into this auction with still a lot of places to try and improve. They left the auction with 4.5 crores still left, and they did buy some players who make an immediate impact on the 11. What do you think about Gujarat Titans this year?
They had a couple of outstanding buys, One is Shiva Mavi. I mean, this is something we had predicted even ahead of the auction that they'll be going in for a Mavi. I mean, one thing that I found it difficult, really difficult to understand is that how does Ashish Nehra's mind work? So this is something I'm finding it really difficult to understand. And only through understanding these, how a coach and captain works, you can predict the 11. So I think now I'm getting a hang of it. I think he's someone who loves to take the young pace bowling talents and work with them. So this is why Mavi is there, and Mavi is a great buy for them. And Joshua Little as well. He's someone who can either directly replace Alzari Joseph or act as a
Right.
quality replacement to him. So it gives them a left arm option in the 11, overseas option in the 11, and also gives them Mavi because they only had Yash Thakur, I guess, Yash Dial. So
Yeah, yes, there.
and Shami is also aging. You cannot expect these two players to have the kind of season they had last year again and again. So it was important for them to strengthen the bowling department, and that's exactly what they did by bringing in Joshua Little and Shivam Mavi.
And Ashish Nehra mentioned that Kane Williamson will be starting in the 11. What do you make of that?
I think that's going to be a problem because Kane Williamson has been ordinary in T20s for a year and a half now. He's been really struggling to accelerate, and his approach has been bizarre. I mean, there are times when even then the situation demands clear as a day that batter needs to accelerate. He's someone who keeps on rotating strike for the first 15 overs. So that's going to be a problem, especially when you put Kane Williamson as part of the top three, which has Shubman Gill and an aging Ridhiman Shah right now, because Gill's game is developing one, and Saha is aging two. And if you put Kane Williamson there, then that creates a problematic top three. I mean, this is the only thing that stops them from being a top class team to being just about an acceptable team at the moment. If they had brought someone, they needed someone of the class of Johnny Bairstow or David Warner at the top three. If they bring in a player like that, and this team, you cannot stop this team.
Right. But if you go one step further and
Mm,
see that you have Gill, Saha, and Williamson as their top three, and then
mm,
Hardik at the top four, do you think that the top order, even with Hardik at four, is still a
mm.
little shaky?
It is shaky because David Miller had a great season last year. I mean, you do not expect even someone like Warner to have a season like that again. So it's like David Miller is again a good player. He's not a great player. Would he have a season like that? Would Rahul Tewatia help them escape from the hole that they dug themselves last year time and again? He did it like 3 or 4 times where matches were considered done and dusted for them, and he took them out of it. Will that happen? I mean, you do not normally expect these things to happen every season. So I think that's where their challenge lies. They'll be a team that's driven by bowling and a lower middle order, couple of lower middle order cameos and impact cameos.
And throughout last season,
Hmm.
despite having three solid bowlers who started in almost every game, or two or three solid bowlers who started in almost every game, the
Hmm.
rest of their bowling lineup kept changing. They had
Hmm.
Yash Dayal play a few games. They had got
Hmm.
Pradeep Sangwan in for a couple of games. They got Darshan
Hmm.
Nalkande in for a few games. Sai
Hmm.
Kishore came in very, very late, like
Hmm.
much later than people would have wanted him to. They also
Hmm.
played Shankar in a few games. Do you see them having a stable bowling lineup this year?
I think they will. I think after the impact that Sai Kishore had last year, and especially considering where they are playing a lot of their matches this year with a big venue. I mean, it doesn't matter who Sai Kishore bowls to. For example, he could bowl to a left-hander. I mean, as a captain, I'd be happy to bowl him to a left-hander because of the support of the big outfields and the nature of the deck at the venue there at their home deck. So at least at their home, they should have Rashid Khan, Sai Kishore, Mavi. Shami and one of Little or Alzari Joseph. So that gives them a set five bowling options.
And do you see any of the other auction picks making an impact in the like immediate starting 11?
I'm going through the 11. Maybe not. KS Bharat could get in for Sahad at some point. Maybe if Sahad doesn't get off to a great start or something, or even right away, KS Bharat is an option. But the two picks that could decide their fate for the season are Mavi and Josh Little. None of the rest
Josh Little.
look appealing to me.
And Odean Smith, you don't see him playing in like most games.
The audience cannot play in that setup because it needs a specialist bowler to work with Shami and Yash Dayal or even Mavi. Odion Smith weakens both Shami and Yash Dayal if he's featured in the 11.
Right. I do see that a lot of their picks from this year as well are they mimic the kind of picks they had last year, other than
Mm,
Williamson, because they had Dominic Drakes last year as well, if I'm not wrong.
mm,
And
mm,
now they've got an Odin Smith,
mm.
like a player of that kind, and then they got Joshua Little as well to replace someone like a Lockie Ferguson. So they're trying to maintain the kind of formula that they had last year. Do you see them making it to the top four with the kind of squad they have?
With the kind of, if you had asked me, I'd say no. They'll struggle this year because while they have strengthened their bowling unit, the batting order is not something you would expect them to turn up again and again. So that's going to be a problem for them. So they may be hit or miss. Maybe when we complete the entire set of 10 teams, we could have them sneaking in as the fourth or a fifth team. But they're not favorites for me.
All right, let's move on to the next team, Rajasthan Royals, who you had your third of the top three buys of the auction from Jason Holder. What do you think about Rajasthan this year?
I think they did the best of what they could have done with the 13 crores they had. They were not in contention for Sam Curran for sure. So the only other player that could
Or
have
Harry Brook?
yeah, I really do not know what they are trying. I mean, some people are saying they are trying to burn SRH's purse, and that's not. You'll not be stupid enough to do that to go till 13 crores. I think they are desperately trying to buy Harry Brook, which is bizarre for me. But apart from that, the only player that they could have bought was Jason Holder, and they bought him. So that's job well done.
And Jason Holder is the only player from the auction picks who you see making an impact in the 11.
Yeah, Jason Oller is the only one who can get into the 11, and he's a perfect fit for the 11, and the rest are just backups.
And do you think they have a good bench strength in case they have to make any changes along the season?
I think I'm going through the 11. Obviously, when you have Zampa on the bench, I mean, it's a good option to have as a backup. Apart from that, think it's struggling. It's a lineup that's struggling in terms of backup.
Although they have a formidable starting 11 in many ways,
They
right?
do, yeah, but which is the most important thing. I mean, backups could come into play sometimes, may not come into play, especially for a team that works with the two spinners. It's not as important as it could be for some other teams. So as long as the first 11 is good enough, I think it's good.
Many of the problems which Rajasthan had last season didn't only stem from um, the number seven, the
Mm,
contentious spot of number seven, but
mm,
also from the fact that Devdutt Padikkal didn't deliver at the level that they would have hoped, or wasn't able to live up to the role which they gave to him, despite having a few good starts in the first half of the season.
mm.
They didn't address that issue as such, although they did try going for Puran.
Yeah. Think the screen is frozen. Maybe you're back, I guess. Yeah. So the only thing that they could have done is release David Padikkal and create a pulse and maybe try for some other left-hander, someone like Riley Rosso. I think they even tried for Riley Rosso at the end of the auction. That's something that they could have tried and maybe got someone of an Indian pacer or something that would have shortened their batting depth. They would have had no option but to go with Praseed Krishna and Kuldeep Sen, but that would have at least given them a commanding left hand option in the middle order in the form of Riley Russell.
Even Puran, they tried going for Puran, but he went completely out of hand
Yeah.
when LSG took him all the way
Mm.
up. They have KM Asif as an Indian pacer. They have Navdeep Saini, Kuldeep Sen. They could have still tried doing it, but they didn't end up getting their hands on a player who could slot in over there. Maybe Joe Root. I don't know what they're thinking about Joe Root, but it would be surprising if he made it to the 11.
I think that's a special delivery for Ravichandran Ashwin's YouTube channel. Some of the picks, Zampa too. I mean, who are they going to replace him with? They have a couple of Indian spinners, and it's always going to be difficult to get him into the 11. So I think it's special. It's a special delivery for Ravichandran Ashwin's YouTube shows.
Yeah, and a lot has been said about Donovan Ferreira. Do you have anything to share about Donovan Ferreira? Like a lot of people have been saying that he is a player to watch out for.
There are a couple of videos online where you see him smashing paces around, where he takes on slow balls and everything. But apart from that, I have not seen anything. But I think he's someone who is being looked at as a power hitter down the order. at number 5, 6, where you need these South African players. I mean, you could see the switch with Mumbai Indians as well. They are targeting South African players who are natural against pace. The switch is it is moved from West Indian hitters to South African and maybe even Australian hitters, players who are more at ease against 140 and 145 kph level bowling. So that's kind of what we are looking at Donovan Ferreira.
So he would probably be a backup for Hetmeyer in this 11.
Yeah, and someone who could come into the picture in the future, the next year or two.
Yeah. All right. Let's. What do you think about the chances of making it to the top four?
Chance of making I like I like lineup that has impact players. Josh Butler is one, Sanju Samson is one, Shimran Etmayer is one. So when a team has so many quality players in the team, I think it should be one of the favorites to make the top four with Jason Holder in it now.
Yeah, Trent Bolt. Would you consider him as an impact player?
The new ball, yes. With the first three, I'd love to have Trent Bolt running up, but he's someone who loses his value as an innings progresses. But new ball impact, I mean, we have seen this with Deepak Chahar time and again. There are three matches every season, at least three to two to three, 3 to 4 matches every season that he wins on his own. No matter whatever anyone tries after the impact that he has had, it's going to be difficult for them. The famous match against KKR comes to my mind, where
Yeah.
Sam Curran gets rid of Andre Russell with the Yorker, and despite an innings, the kind of innings that it was, KKR stood no chance. So as long as I have
Exactly.
new ball impact, Trent Bolt is a good option to have in that department.
And that's another thing from last auction which they weren't able to fix this year, right? They didn't exactly have a death bowler
Hmm.
in their midst, and even this season, Jason Holder coming in doesn't really give them much of a padding at the back of the innings.
Yeah, it's something that they are going to struggle. I mean, it's something I've been thinking about for a while as well. I mean, even my opinion on this has been changing. Death balling is something that's difficult to get. Quality death ballers. I mean, you could make a list of who is there. Jasprit Bumrah is there, and even someone like Rabada is struggling. Nokia is struggling. Even the world's best is struggling in that role. So when you're not able to get a high quality fix for the role, why are you wasting your money on it? Instead, get players who are good enough in the roles. You could get plenty of quality new ball options. You could get plenty of quality spin options, and you would maybe get a plenty of quality batting options. So focus your resources on it and make do with whatever is left within the dead bowling department. Not going to get Bumrah and whoever the rest of whoever you try, they are all going to go at 10 or 11 runs per over. So what's the point?
Fair enough. So you still think they have it in them to make it to the top four, right?
Yeah, with Holder in, they are one of the favorites for the top four.
Awesome, awesome. Let's move on to Delhi. A lot of debate around how Delhi performed at the auction. They were one of the few teams who had quite a lot of money to spend with not too many spots left to fill. But they end up filling the spots which they needed to fill, or did they address issues they never even had? What do you think?
I think the release of Shardul Thakur was a bit bizarre for me because you dug yourself into a hole where the only option that could fix your requirement is an Indian pace bowler who can bat. And Deepak Chahar is locked out, and with Deepak Chahar locked out, the only other option you have is Shardul Thakur. Even though he might have had a bad year last year, they should have tried him. So when they released him, it was obvious that they will not be able to fix that slot in the auction. They might have underestimated how crazy teams would go for Cameron Green. It seems like they came into the auction with the sole purpose of getting him, and even if they had got him, it's not something that's going to help them a lot. He's a rookie player. He's someone who hasn't established himself in the T20 circuit. So it is bizarre what their entire thinking process was. But at the end, they saved their day with the Riley Rossov buy. It's something that could help them restructure their batting unit. They could perhaps move Mitchell Marsh down the order. Ideally, they should have Roman Powell and slot Rosso at number three, because spin is something that was troubling them last year to take on spin bowlers. And with Rosso moving up, that will give them a couple of left-handed options in the middle. In addition to Pant, they'll have another bowler. But knowing Ponting, he'd be someone who would rather drop Mitchell Marsh down the order and put Roman Powell on the bench instead of moving Mitchell Marsh out of the 11.
Right. So, according to you, David Warner, Russell, Powell, and Nokia should be the four overseas players who play in the 11.
It should be, but I'm expecting it to be a March
Should move
replacement.
down the order.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. With Ricky Ponting
Or
as their
even Rosso playing at number 5, even though it doesn't make sense. I mean, knowing Ricky Ponting, that's something you'd happily do, to have Mitchell Marsh fixed at 3 and do whatever you want around it.
so it sounds like they've created problems for themselves, even with the Rousseau buy in a way.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to play him at number 5, it's not something that's going to work out. So
And
in
other
my,
than and other than him, is there any player who you see making it to the 11? Any of the other auction picks who you see making it to the 11?
maybe Mukesh Kumar, he could start straight away over Chetan Sakaria, because even though they had Sakaria last year, he's not someone the team didn't have a lot of confidence in playing him, and also he could replace Chetan Sakaria this time, I guess, with
Right.
mm, yeah.
And there's really no like Sarfaraz Khan was struggling to make it to the 11. Like he was really struggling to make it to the 11.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Manish Pandey. I think that's something that they kind of built their backup or something. But with Sarfraz Khan also impressing last year, it's not going to be easy for them to bring in replace him with someone like Manish Pandey, even if they need a batter in their position.
Yeah, and they already have players from last season's auction
Hmm.
who weren't able to make it to the 11, like a Yash Dhul. So, like, if they do need someone at the top of the order, I think that they would also maybe have Yash Dhul, like somewhere in there.
Think Yashdul is someone maybe I think they are looking at him like a post David Warner project. When
Right.
he leaves, he's someone who could slot in and directly open with someone like Prithvi Shah. This is something that I see happening, but maybe not for now.
And what do you think about their bench strength overall? Like, do you think the starting 11 may look good, but do you think that they have enough backups to sustain the season?
I'm excited to see what Aman Khan is going to do this season. There's a lot of hype surrounding him, and he's someone who could bowl at a quick pace, and he's also someone who can bat. So that's if you look at their backups, I think it's one of the teams that with the top backup, because even Kamlesh Nagarkoti has a high ceiling. He's someone who could who could start and turn around and start realizing his potential soon. So when you look at the backup, they have Sakaria, they have Nagarkoti, they have Aman Khan, and even in the overseas department, they have Engidi, Fizz, and Roman Pavel or Mitchell Marsh, depending on who they drop out. So all of these are 6 quality backup options. So this is something they have got covered. Their problem lies more with the first 11.
Right. And do you think that they have a first 11 that can make it to the top four?
No, with Rishabh Pant himself struggling in T20s to find a spot, and Warner is aging as well. So that's something that we'll need to keep in mind. And with this Riley Ross of Mitchell Marsh and Roman Paul chaos, they are going to struggle.
They have a lot of options, but no 11 that they put together may be strong enough to make it to the next round.
Yeah. Khalil Ahmed had an outstanding season last year, even though he was struggling with injury, but now he's been off on and off. So these are the problems they have. It's not a team, it's not 11 that you'd look at and say it's something that would reach the top 4.
And on top of all of this, Shardul Thakur's trade out seems a lot more bizarre than it may have when they were making the deal.
Mm. Yeah.
Right, so let's move on to the next team. We have Hyderabad,
Mm.
who's Mayank Agarwal ranked as the top pick of the auction. What do you
Mm.
have to say about their squad?
I think Muthaiya Muralidharan himself admitted that they really wanted Sam Curran and they couldn't buy him, so it's something they're regretting. So that might have something to do with the mad dash they had at Harry Brook. He also admitted that they overpaid him. So that's the only problem. So as far as I'm concerned, there are a couple of things that Sunrisers Hyderabad could have done. Either bring Ben Stokes in and make him open at the top 3, insert him between Rahul Tripathi and Abhishek Sharma, or buy Mayank Agarwal, two impact players, two superstars who can control an innings at the top. So they did one of it. They ticked one big box by bringing in Mayank Agarwal. He's someone who could work really well with that top order. Someone who could command an innings with the likes of Abhishek Sharma, Rahul Tripathi going crazy at the other end. So that's a good thing that they did. The Brook one, I think they stuffed it up. It's not something that they needed. They already had two quality specialist batting options in Markram and Phillips, and they also, if Phillips is not interested in keeping, they should have had Klaasen in their mind even before they came to the auction. So now they have four specialist batting options in the middle. Surplus, a lot of it is surplus basically. Screen is frozen again, I guess. Cannot
Yeah,
hear you.
are we
Yeah,
back?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, what you just said about Klassen and Phillips and Brook and it becoming a bit of a middle muddle in the middle order,
Hmm.
it begs an important question, right? Because they don't exact other than they have Nitish Reddy and Upendra Yadav who are two domestic keeping options, but they're likely going to have to go with either one of Klassen or Phillips to keep Brook.
Hmm. Okay. Screen is frozen again. Yeah, you're back.
They
Okay.
would pick.
The thing I see with SRH is that I think they're definitely going to play Klaasen because Brook is someone who is slot in. When you buy someone for 13 crores, you'd want to play, you'd want to play him because of the pressure, the sheer pressure that brings in. You not want to buy someone at 13 crores and sit him and make him sit on the bench. So he plays. Markram is at 4. Brook is at 5, and Klaasen is someone who is definitely going to play at 6 because someone in my timeline, someone raised a very good point that it has been quite some time since Glenn Phillips has skipped wickets. There is also the New Zealand match that I was watching, during which the commentator on air was saying Glenn Phillips himself doesn't want to keep. He wants to see himself as a more of an off spin batter
Yeah.
who bowls off spin. So this is something that maybe they're not confident in Phillips keeping wickets. So it gives them a middle order of Klaasen, Brook at 5, and Markram at 4.
And then they would go either with Faruqi or Hansen as the um, fourth option, or do you think they'll go with Adil Rashid and play their military of domestic pacers?
I think this is where we have an unfair advantage of being able to hear Muthaiya Muralidharan speak in Tamil because he revealed a lot of their secrets, what they were planning, what they are disappointed, what they shouldn't have done. And one of the things he said was, we really missed having a leg spin option last year. What a find after 14 games. He said that they need someone who could bowl wrist spin. So I think they're looking at having three Indian pacers with Adil Rashid as the overseas spinner, because even last year they didn't have a lot of confidence in Jansen. Even though he started spectacularly well, they dropped him midway through, and Fazalak Faruqi came in. He considered runs in one innings. There was not a lot of confidence shown in those two players to start over someone like to expect to start over someone like Adil Rashid this year. So it's going to be an Indian pace trio with Adil Rashid as a lead spinner.
So what do you think their biggest weakness is, considering that their first 11 does look slightly that does look pretty decent?
I think it's the absence of having a quick wrist spinner. Maybe Adil Rashid is more of a conventional leg spinner. There is a reason why he hasn't been picked for so long. He's someone
Right.
who works well who would work well on a deck like Chepak, for example, where you need traditional leg spinners doing the job. So that's something that could trouble. And I'm not sure how long the pace department with Natu being on and off. There's been injury issue with him. You do not know how good he's going to be. And Bhuvi also kind of had a great start to the year, but he couldn't deliver for India as the in the World Cup or in the last few months. So he's someone who would be dropping as well. So dropping off as well. This Indian pace bowling is where I see a problem. It's funny because last year we were speaking about Umran Malik being the weakest link of the 11 and how far he has come. He's someone who's
Yeah.
always on the field. This is a good thing for a fast bowler. You rarely see any injury issues with them. So that's something good. The problem lies more with how well Tyagi is coming on, how well
Yeah.
Tyagi has developed over the last year. This is something we do not know often. These are things that's really difficult to understand from outside the circuit. Maybe if he could realize his potential, if he could realize the potential he showed a couple of years back with Tyagi and Umran Malik bowling together, batters would not want to face it.
Yeah. And who do you think captains them?
I think that's something again thanks to hearing Muthaiya Muralidharan, they stuffed up. They really wanted Ben Stokes in the 11 and him to captain because they went for Broof. They couldn't get him, so I think they'll now go back to Mayank Agarwal. Mayank Agarwal loved captaining Punjab last time. Yeah, he was really enthusiastic about it. He wanted his team to succeed so much that he was himself prepared to drop himself down the order. So he might love that's something that I think SRH will do and approach him to captain the innings, captain the team, because there are no other options that stand out here.
Yeah, makes sense. Then Mayank Agarwal captains them and opens with
Mm.
Abhishek Sharma. That would be a really good opening combination as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, Bhuvi is someone who people tip as a popular captaincy pick. Maybe he's someone who you'd want off the field after bowling in the power play with the new impact rule coming in. You'd want him to
Exactly.
bowl in the first 12, first 14 overs and maybe have him out for Natarajan. Maybe as Natarajan, a specialist bowler who doesn't field, which kind of improves his availability throughout the season.
Fair enough. Do you see them making it to the top four this season?
I do. If Klassen starts at 6 and yeah, if Klassen starts to think that's a key thing for me with Mayank at the top. So this is a team that would make the top four. But if they sort of create the problem where they have Brook at 6 and Phillips at 5, two players
Yeah,
who shouldn't be batting at the position they are at the
yeah.
moment, especially at the league like IPL, Phillips' value comes at more at over 7 to 16. So that would be a problem. But if they do the right thing of playing Klassen at number 6, they should make it to the top four.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next team. The last one, RCB. What do you make of RCB this season?
I mean, a lot of talk about RCB. It's like they keep strengthening their backup bench. It's just like and they speak too much about it, which is something that's confusing to me. Well, the backup is not going to play 11. I mean, Reece Topley is a great pick. Will Jacks is a promising pick. How good are they? When their problem is in the playing 11. Harshal Patel is someone who has been struggling to find a spot in the Indian national team, and Josh Hazlewood has been having injury issues. While Siraj could compensate for it a little bit, their problems lie with the batting order. You do not want Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis in the top three. Two players who have the same kind of weaknesses, who have the same kind of limitations, and that's where I think this is something that I called it even ahead of last year. Dinesh Karthik could work for them a year, but they could soon start working on a succession plan for him because they at the moment they do not have a lot of power in that lower middle order. With only Maxwell is more of a proper middle order player. In the lower middle order, you only have Dinesh Karthik and who's a left-hander at number 5. Looking through the
Mahipal Lomror is who they played
yeah,
last year.
Maipa Lomror at 5 and Dinesh Karthik at 6. Declining Dinesh Karthik at that. You have seen his numbers. Dinesh Karthik at his best, even though he's a finisher, he would average at least 30 runs per wicket. This year with India, he's been averaging 20 runs per wicket. This is one of the reasons why he was dropped. He was unable to bring his best to the team. So with him declining and with Lomror at 5, who would be at number 7? I think it's Azaranga or Azaranga at 7, I guess. So that's a problem. That's a really weak lower middle order, and with Faf and Kohli at the top, I mean that's a batting unit that's going to struggle a lot.
And what's funny is that this is the exact same 11 that they played for the second half of last season. And
Mm,
it seems like this is one of those few teams where none of their auction picks are
mm,
actually going to play in the 11, although there is potential for quite a few of them too. Be it Finalin from last season
mm,
or Will Jacks, we're not going to get to see them play. And
mm,
Dinesh Karthik was at his best, like one of probably his best last season. You
mm,
had Harshal Patel doing well as well.
mm.
Rajat Patidar did really well, but it's not like Virat or Faf are getting younger either. Do you see the same batting 11 succeeding the way they managed to because of the way Dinesh Karthik was able to? Dinesh Karthik broke them out of jail multiple times last season.
Mm. It was a bit like Rahul Tavade. I mean, Dinesh Karthik replacing ABD Villiers, I'd say that he had a better season than ABD Villiers could have. I mean, at his potential best could have had that. That's how crazy his numbers were last season. It's unbelievable, and it's not something you'd expect to happen again, especially considering how well he's played the last year. So this is a batting unit that's going to struggle a lot, especially with Lomror at 5. Yeah, things are looking really dark for RCB this year. Maybe they could find some hope in their scouting department. and look at start looking at the next couple of years.
A lot has been said about Avinash Singh, if I'm not wrong, one of their picks. But I don't think again that they're gonna start with him in the 11.
Yeah, no chance. That's the. I mean, I think is he a bowler? There's the quick that was compared to Imran Malik.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So if it's as long as Harshal Patel and Mohammad Siraj are there, you're not going to play Avinash Singh in the 11. With Josh Hazelwood and Reece Topley coming in as the Reece Topley coming in as a third pacer. So this looks like more like a future project. And for the current year, for the next year, I think it's a lineup that's going to struggle.
And it's basically the same 11 as
Mm,
last year,
mm,
right? And they did make it to the top four. Do you
mm.
think they can replicate it this year?
No chance. With
No chance. That's a bold
no,
statement, right?
yeah, I look at the lower middle order. Dinesh Karthik at this point, Lomror, Hasranga. That's not 11 that's going to make that's not a batting unit that's going to make the top four in this edition, especially with the Kohli and Faf at the top.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, from what I'm gathering, a solid half of the teams you were quite certain
Mm,
are more likely to end up in the bottom half of the table than the top
mm,
half.
mm.
So, if there were four teams who you would be surprised if they didn't make it at the top four, what would those four teams be?
Lucknow Super Giants is the first name that comes to my mind, and let me go through my doc. SRH, uh, and PBKS, Punjab. I like them, and maybe what's the other team? Well, if they get their playing 11 right, Mumbai. That is with Jai Richardson in. You there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
So, what was the fourth team? I think I missed that.
Hey, if they get the playing 11 right with Jai Richardson in, Mumbai is the fourth team that I'd expect to go through.
So, Hyderabad, Punjab, Lucknow, and Mumbai.
Yeah.
You don't see Rajasthan in there. I would,
Uh,
in my mind, it was Rajasthan instead of Mumbai when I was thinking of a fourth team.
yeah, I totally forgot Rajasthan Royals. I was taking my sheet. Rajasthan would be the fourth team. Yeah.
All right, and there's one thing which we didn't discuss. Let's
Mm,
quickly go over that, which is the impact player rule. Right, a lot of strategizing which was done in previous seasons
mm,
now changes in many ways with the advent of the impact player rule.
mm,
Um, there have been lots of rules introduced in the IPL over the last few years, which
mm,
haven't been made use of as much. One of them was the mid-season transfer.
mm.
The impact player rule. Do you see teams using it religiously every game?
It's massive. I mean, it would be foolish to miss out on it. Take a team like Sunrisers Hyderabad. They could literally ball out Bubi in the first 10 and bring Natarajan in the last 10, who is a death bowler. I mean, it's such an advantage. It's a the advantage of this rule is that there are no real restrictions with Super Sub in the 2007 and 2008. You had certain restrictions within which you had to operate. There is no limit to what you can do with this, which is what is going to make this one a massive impact. This is something that's so big that in the coming years, teams are going to plan their auctions with this in mind.
Do you think there was some thought given to it this auction as well?
Maybe not much because it's at the moment a bit too complicated. Teams would want to take it slowly, but the one thing, the basic box that they would have taken this Indian depth, building Indian depth in your squad is really important.
Teams, like off the top of your head, which team do you think benefits a lot? You mentioned Hyderabad already. Like,
Hmm.
which other team do you think benefits from having an impact player rule?
I think again off the top of my head, nothing really clicks for me. But maybe if I go through it, I'd be able to find something.
Sure, like that makes complete sense. It seems like most teams will make some use of it, especially if I'm not wrong. You have to name four substitutes, and you can use any one of them, right?
Yeah,
Throughout the
as long as it's Indian and you could use it. For example, think about someone like Gujarat Titans. They could start with Yash Dayal and Mavi the first the first 6 overs, and then drop one of them out and bring Ravi Sai Kishore into the 11 for the middle overs.
does this rule in your mind um, make teams um, a little bit more comfortable? Is there any specialist skill which you think is threatened by the introduction of this impact player rule?
I don't think there is any specialist skill that's written. If anything, I think this is going to make some of the special skills more important. I think more valuable in any case, because you'd love to have someone like Deepak Char, a new ball specialist, someone like Mukesh Kumar, who is being regarded as a new ball specialist. Just use them up front. Their chance of playing is going to improve. For example, if you have Bhuvi and younger version of Bhuvi and Natarajan in your 11, you could play both. You could play one in the first half and one in the second half. It's going to give a lot of options to the bowling teams, and hence it's going to improve the chances of players getting opportunities.
I feel like we have quite comprehensively covered the hits and misses of the IPL auction. I think you're one of the few teams who you are certain won't make it to the top four.
Yeah.
So let's see how that plays out as well. Any concluding thoughts on the IPL auction? Anything which surprised you? Anything which you are really happy about?
I think I'm the one thing that when someone asked me ahead of the auction, what are you looking forward to the most? I said, are SRH going to get Mayank Agarwal? They got him, so that's something I'm happy for him to get into that lineup and try and have an impact. Something that surprised me was how mad teams went at Cameron Green. Maybe this is something that we do not know, and the franchises know. Maybe there's not going to be any releases, major releases happening, any mega auctions happening. So maybe this is why some teams are crazy about getting young, promising talents and seal them for for the next 10 years. I mean, Cameron Green would appeal to you a lot more if you're looking at him as a 10-year option, an option that you'd not want to release in say in 2024. But if you want to release him in 2024, then that's not an option that is as appealing as it is now. So that's something that we do not know. But if it's not George Sigel, that's going to be something that has really surprised me.
And these are incredible insights, right? You had somehow seen Mayank Agarwal also going into Hyderabad. You had called Shivam Mavi like being sought after by Gujarat Titans as well. You had also predicted that given Mumbai Indians' history, like someone like a Green would be a classic buy, a classic case of them like misfiring. And covers off has so many other incredible predictions that we are making, helping people make lakhs and lakhs of rupees every single day. So these are things which we had already called before the IPL auction even happened. So just imagine how much better we're going to get as the IPL season comes closer. So if you haven't already subscribed to us, please do subscribe to us. I'll thank you so much for such comprehensive insights into each and every team. And it was long awaited, and I think that we gave everybody it was worth the wait for everybody. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for everyone who joined us.
No problem. Thank you.